My name is Rita C. Pollock. My father's name was John George Rosenberger, and he was a cabinet maker, worked in a lumber mill.
But wasn't he a Broadway dancer when he was younger?
So I heard that he was up in New York when he met Al Jolson and Eddie Cantor. He didn't like Al Jolson at all.
But he had ambitions to dance on the stage, right?
Well, that's what he had, but yeah. Buck and wing dancing, so they called it. But I think that was before he married my mother.
What was your mother's name and what was she like?
Her name was Mary Rosenberger. And, well, she had two sisters living. And one died when she was young. Well, she was married and had children, but she was young in her 40s when she died. Then she had another sister, Cecilia, and she passed away too in her 70s. And of course, my mother was in 65 when she died.
Do you know how your parents met? How did your parents meet?
I think it was my Aunt Margaret, my father's sister, and my mother worked at some kind of a factory. And that's where she met her, and then of course from there she met my father.
How would you describe their relationship? Were they a happy couple?
Yeah, I think they were, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, they were.
Did they have any kind of hobbies or anything? What did they do?
My mother liked bingo. She was a bingo player.
Now, what did your father like to do?
My father was more into the sports.
Mm-hmm.
When it was the Colts, they had season tickets. Him and my brother Buzzy, not Norbert, but Norbert was never interested. He was always home, but to go to the games was always my father and him.
Now, could you describe your father's parents? What do you remember of them, or what stories did you hear about them?
Well, I must have been about 6 years old when my grandmother died. She was 89 years old. She was a tiny woman. She didn't weigh no more than 100 pounds. Wore them old-time dresses like they did when they come from the old country, and she couldn't speak English. My grandfather, he was tiny also, and but I don't remember too much about him. I think I saw him about once.
Now, talk about your mother's parents. I think you knew them more. What were your mother's parents like?
Well, they were. I don't remember my grandfather. I was about 3 years old when he died. I can remember him laying in the bed and in the back room of their home on Duncan Street. But I think he was only in his 50s. And my grandmother, she was in her 60s, and she was dressed from like they did in the old country, the long skirts and babushkas and all that. And she never could speak English either.
Was she nice to you?
Oh yes, yeah, she was very nice.
And what did you always say to her?
What I always say to her?
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to school then down to St. Wenceslas. We always used to say, Baba, daj mi jeden penize, which meant, Grandma, give me a penny.
And would she give you a penny?
No.
Well, they were kind of poor, weren't they?
Oh yes, yes they were. Back in them days, didn't have what you have today. That was for sure.
Did you learn any German to speak with you?
No, I never did.
Now, did your father speak German?
Nope.
Nope.
No, he didn't speak one word of German, and his parents couldn't speak English.
Mm-hmm. When you were born, you lived on on Biddle Street, correct?
No, I wasn't born on Biddle Street. I was born on Preston Street.
Was that in the Rosenberger house, like 1900?
No, that was up the block. They were at one end, and I was there. They lived up the other end. It was only about 4 houses in that one block.
Did the Rosenbergers live on the first house of that block, or was it like the second one in?
But it's right on the corner.
Right on the corner, okay.
Corner of a little street. I think it was Chapel Street.
Yeah, okay, and I'm going to go down there and take a picture of the house with this. Do you want to go down with me? Do you want to go down in that
What,
neighborhood?
today?
Not today, maybe later.
Well, if I'm home, I guess, yeah.
Okay, so then how old were you when you moved to Biddle Street?
I really don't know how old I was. I know Helen was born on Biddle Street, and Buzzy, Anthony, he was born on Biddle Street. But I don't remember when they moved there.
So, but were you?
I was too little to know.
So you spent most of your childhood on Biddle Street, though. How did you like living over there on Biddle Street?
Oh, we had a great time. Yeah, I liked it very much. I mean, it was a lot different then, than it was today, you know. Because we had a nice home on the inside there. It was a nice big house with marble steps, and it was really nice.
Now, did you have to share a room with Helen, or did you have your own room?
No, we shared a room. Helen and I shared a room, and the two boys shared a room.
Now, speaking of the two boys, do you remember your brother who died?
No, I was 3 years old, and I was 2 years old. He was 3 years old. He had double pneumonia, and that's what he died from, was pneumonia.
Would you say your family was rich, poor, middle class, working class? How would you describe your family?
I don't know. I guess they were in between poor and middle class, because during the Depression, my father lost his job, and we were living at that time. St. Wenceslaus Church, all the churches, they would have the food that you could go there and get the food, and my mother and father used to get some food from down there and then bring it home, and we only had like one big meal. One big thing to eat for dinner, a big pot of soup or some ham with some kind of food in it, but you didn't have a lot of different varieties of food to eat back then. You either ate what they had on the plate, or you didn't eat at all.
So did you just get one meal, or did you get breakfast and that?
Well, we get breakfast and lunch,
Yeah.
but I mean, as far as the big meal, the dinner, my mother would make a great big pot of soup, and that was all you had. You ate the soup. Or she'd make carrots and peas with mutton, which I didn't like. So, but if you didn't eat it, you didn't get anything. That was it.
Now, would you,
They never made a lot of foods.
when you were old enough to remember things, did you already have electricity, or did you still have gas lights, or?
Well, we had gas upstairs, but I think we had electricity downstairs. I can't remember downstairs, but I do remember that we had a gas light up at the top of the steps as you go up, when you went upstairs, right at the top in the hall there. And when we all got in bed, my father would say, "Is everybody in bed?" And we would say, "Yeah." Then he would dim the light just enough so you could get into the bathroom at night time, walk in the night.
And did you always have indoor plumbing, or did that come later?
Well, no, we had indoor plumbing, but we never had hot water heat or anything like that. The water, they had the, what do you call them, those big
Pumps?
pump. It wasn't a pump, it was like a like you have, well, like the hot water heaters. They had that, to get water in, then you would come up into the kitchen or wherever, were. But up in the bathroom, we only had cold water.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother used to have to heat water up in tubs. I can remember seeing her with these great big tubs. You would put them on downstairs and have to carry them upstairs and put them in the tub. And that's how we took a bath, because we didn't have any hot water.
Mm-hmm.
And because they didn't have hot water heaters. We didn't have a hot water heater. So that's the way we had to. And the two girls took a bath, and after the two girls took a bath, the two boys took a bath.
Mm-hmm. And then, when did your parents take a bath, before or after?
I don't know.
Did they get the clean water, or did they get the dirty water at
I
the
don't
end?
know what they did, but I don't remember that. But I do remember that. Well, we did.
Mm-hmm. Because I remember Tilly was saying that I think Tilly was living at that house on Duncan Street before they had indoor plumbing.
Yes,
and all.
she was.
And she's younger than you. Tilly was younger
Right.
than you. So you guys were probably a little more prosperous than than those guys. Describe what Buzzy and Butch and Helen were all like as kids. What did they all do?
Well, Helen and I were pretty close. We always did everything together. We went to the movies and we would go downtown. Anything. We were always together. And the boys, well, Norbert and Buzzy were different. Buzzy liked to go wander out into the fields. He used to go in, used to be an empty lot way out on Biddle Street. He used to go out there all the time, and there was a pond out there, and he would always come home with some kind of animals. Or he'd be a dog, or it would be fish, something, always something he'd come home with, snakes and all, everything. He was a nature guy. And Uncle Butch was more or less a guy that just sat around the house. He didn't do much. And he was just that type of a person.
What interested Uncle Butch?
Well, what interested him? That's a question. I really don't know what interested him. He was always on the quiet side. And he more or less was a loner. He was always by himself. Buzzy was the one that had a lot of friends. He was never home. But Norbert, he was always...
Was he like always doing stuff for your parents, Norbert?
Oh, yeah, right, yeah, always. Yes, he did. We thought we had a great childhood. We were able to go to the movies. And one thing about the movies then, you could go to the movie, and if you get in when the movies was already started, you could wait, stay there as long as you wanted to go see what the movie was all about. And they all had cereals, and they had coming attractions. Back then, the movies was a lot better than they are today, I thought.
What were some of your favorite movies that you like to see, or movie stars?
Well, I always liked the cowboy shows. And I always used to like the series they had was Flash Gordon
Buster
in the
Crabbe.
21st century.
Yeah.
We couldn't wait till the next Saturday came to see what the next chapter would be. We always liked that.
And what kind of music did you listen to back then? What did you like?
Well, it was like jazz music, I guess. It wasn't this kind of music like they have today. I mean, it was kind you could understand when they sang.
Now, where you went to school? You went to grade school at St. Wenceslas. Now, where did you go after that?
I went from kindergarten to 8th grade, graduated from 8th grade. Then I went to Eastern High on North Avenue and Broadway, North Broadway.
Is it true you used to always go out with the boys before Helen? That you only dated the boys that you had gone out with previously?
Well, she didn't date all of the boys Well, I was older than Helen, so I was the first one that started dating, right? But then I dated Lou, but then Lou dated Helen, and then I was already married. So.
Now, what did your parents think about you dating guys? Did they like the guys, or they didn't like the guys?
They never said anything that they didn't like them, right?
Now, would you call your parents talkative, or were they quiet people?
Well, I think they were more or less quiet. They weren't very talkative.
Tell me how you met Kenny Protani, and how did you meet him, and what did you think of him?
Well, I met him through Angelina and Mary and Carmela, that we all worked at the Bugle Laundry. And Angelina said, well, would you like to come and meet my brother? So I said, okay. So I went down on Mumford Avenue is where they lived. And I went down there and I met Kenny. Then we went around together for about a year or more. And then we got married.
Did he used to bring you flowers? Did he sweep you off your feet?
No, he didn't bring flowers or anything like that.
What did your parents think of him? I don't think they liked him, did they?
Well, they didn't say, my parents didn't interfere. They didn't say anything, whether they just went along with, if I liked him, that was all right with them. Yeah.
I thought they warned you that Italians carry knives.
My mother said that one time, yeah. But she didn't object when I got married.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't object to it.
So what did you like about Kenny? What was good about Kenny?
Well, he was always nice to me, and he was very. I always thought he was a good-looking guy, and all, and we all got along all right. I said. So,
What did you think of his parents?
Oh, I liked his parents very much. Mm-hmm.
They didn't give you a hard time?
No, they did not. Mm-hmm. His father was very, especially nice, and your mother could tell you how he used to take her down into the basement. He used to make wine and to his wine cellar, and not everybody got a chance to go down there to see his wine cellar.
Mm-hmm.
Me, he took me down there too, me and Clara.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody else ever got to go down there to see the wine. So I tell you, he was nice. I really liked him.
What do you remember when Pearl Harbor happened? What did you feel back then?
Well, that's when Tony and Clara were born. And then he went in service when they were about, I think Tony was about 2 years old, something like that, or maybe he was 3. And then he went in service. And from there, we lived on Montfort Avenue at that time. We had an apartment when we got married and lived in, and that's where they were born there. And then when he went in service, I moved from there to Biddle Street with my mother and father. And I stayed there until he got out of the service. And then when he got out of service, we bought a house on Llewellyn Avenue.
So did you work during the war, or did you just stay with the kids? Or?
No, I didn't work during the war. I didn't work until, when he left. And I had to sell the house. And then I went to work at Hoscher's.
Mm-hmm. Were you a seamstress at Hoscher?
No, I worked in the... First, I worked in the toy department because it was around Christmas time when I got my job. And then I worked in the laundry, linen department. And then I worked down in the hardware in the basement, where they had dishes and paints and all that kind of things. You know.
So, but you're such a great sewer. Where did you learn to sew?
I learned myself how to sew. Nobody taught me.
Mm-hmm. Well, what was Tony like as a boy?
He was a good boy.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have no problems with him.
I mean, was he outgoing? Did he have a lot of friends, or did he hang out?
Yes, he had a lot of boyfriends. He had a lot of friends he used to travel around with, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Was he getting in any trouble?
No, I didn't, not that I know of.
Mm-hmm. Maybe he kept it secret until now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what was Clara like as a child?
Well, Clara was kind of to herself.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't too much with going with other children. She would be satisfied just sitting on the porch here and play with her dolls or something.
Mm-hmm.
And
now, how'd you meet Bob? What's the story there?
Well, I met Bob. Well, I was went to the hairdresser in the corner, down the corner here when I lived on Biddle Street. I'm up here on Evergreen Avenue, and my hairdresser. I don't know whether you want her name or not.
Yeah, go ahead.
June.
Grandmom June.
June Pollock. She she was going out with this fellow, and he had a brother, and she wanted to know if I would like to have a date, go on a date with him. I said, well, okay. So we went out on a date, and we went out together for about a year, and then we got married. And then from there, we bought a house on Hamlet Avenue. After we got married, we bought a house on Hamlet Avenue. And that's where Clara when she got married, she lived there with and had all her children there. And then when my mother passed away, I went to my family asked me, my brothers and my father asked me if I would come and do for them because they needed somebody in the house. And I said, okay. So I went, and then I quit my job at Hoshel's and just stayed up on Evergreen Avenue. And one by one, they all passed away. First it was my mother, then it was father, then it was my younger brother, and of course my sister Helen, even though she never lived there, and my brother Anthony, and then it's me, and I'm still here.
What did you like about Bob?
I thought he was really good guy. You know, I liked him very much.
And you were married to him for a long time.
31 years.
So how did he get along with the kids?
Great. He got along great with the children. He used to take you and Dougie and get you your haircuts, and even Mark and too. And he used to get you your haircuts, which you didn't like. You always used to mess it up when he got out. And he used to take her whenever she had the babies, take her to the doctors before she got a car, to take us to the doctors. And all, he was a good man.
He was a good man.
He was a good man.
So what was it like when your mother died? Was it a shock to you? Wasn't it like a sudden heart attack or something?
Yes, it was a shock, because we were out. We were just out that afternoon at a place where they sell all rose bushes, and they were picking out some rose bushes to plant out on the house, around the house. And then I came home, and I was up in the house when they came down and told me my mother passed away, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, because we were just out that morning, and that evening, that they said they were watching television. And she just said, "Oh, I can't breathe," and then she just passed away.
And how did your father pass away? He was here too, right?
Well, my father, yeah, it was he was 75, and he died in his sleep.
So you just woke up one morning and
I heard a lot of commotion, and my brothers and all woke me up, and they said, Daddy just passed away. They said they found him. They went because he didn't get up to go to work. He was still going to work. And they went to wonder why he was still in bed. So when they went in, they've seen that he was just dead, laying in bed.
So your father kept working right up until the time he died. So did he do that because he wanted to, or just because he needed to?
Because he wanted to. My father always had to be doing something.
Now, okay, we talked about with Buzzy, and everybody was like kids. Now Buzzy went to the war.
Yeah.
You know,
he's 16. He enlisted.
So he volunteered.
Right, because he knew he would be drafted. So he wanted to choose what he wanted.
And all, was he glad to go though?
Well, he didn't seem like he didn't like to go. Yeah, I would say he was. He knew sooner or later he would have to go, so he just.
But he volunteered. He was young.
Yeah,
he was
he
16.
volunteered. Yeah.
Did your parents tell him he shouldn't go?
No, they did not.
Now, did your parents have any feelings like that when we were at war with Germany? That's sort of like they're at war with their.
No.
They were like totally Americanized.
Right.
You know. Now, so after the war, what did Buzzy do?
Well, he got a job in Annapolis, and he was working in the Navy there. He's a plumber, and that's what he used to go back and forth to work from there to here. But he liked to go out in the evenings, with his friends.
So he never got married. Was there anybody you think that he almost married?
No, not that I know of. He said he never met anybody that he really liked. so he never got married.
Now, what about Uncle Butch?
Uncle Butch never did socialize with any women or anything.
He just sort of lived. He worked down in D.C., right, and then come on the
Yeah,
weekend.
he went to Hopkins. He graduated from Hopkins. He went to work at Hirschberg's. So he saved that money and he put himself through Hopkins. And then he got his degrees and all. And then he got a job in Washington D.C. And he was there ever since. And he was in the engineering plans for engineering boats. And a lot of these ships that they built, well, he was part of the help with them. And he worked there for years, up until he retired.
Did he have any hobbies? Would you ever say he ever had any real hobbies?
No, I wouldn't say he had any hobbies. But when he retired, he was mostly over your mother's.
Doing the laundry there.
Yeah.
Never did the laundry here, did he?
Right.
He was always very generous. He helped us all with school.
Yes, he did. He put a lot of them through college.
Now, what about Helen? What did you think of Lou and Helen as a couple? Were they a good couple?
Yes, I thought they were a very good couple together, right?
So, and how did Lou die? Could you tell us about that?
I understand that they were at a dance, I think he got a heart attack. That's what I think what happened to him.
Now, you and Helen, once, you two just traveled a lot.
Yeah,
Tell me
did.
about all the trips you went on with Helen.
Oh, I couldn't tell you all the trips we went on. Man, we went to Hawaii, Canada. We've been to more states than I can tell you. I can tell you more that we haven't gone to than what we've been to.
What's the secret to your success? Because you're pretty healthy. You're getting up there. You're almost 90 years old. You're still, John's living here, but essentially you could be living on your own. There's no problem, and you're keeping busy and you're healthy. Why are you so healthy? Why are you the matriarch of the Rosenberger family now?
I really don't know. Maybe I just had the best genes in the family, I guess. I don't know. That probably is what it is.
So, what are your words of wisdom?
I don't know. I mean, just do the best that you can, I guess. Keep busy. And that's about the only thing I know to tell you.